and then we can inshallah start. All right. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Walhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Wassalatu wassalamu ala sayyidina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Assalamu alaikum all. Inshallah, today we will be discussing our fourth and final installment of name of Al-Hakam. So inshallah, we have covered probably that section in the from the 30th Flash. We will be covering that practically cover to cover, and we will see all the different aspects because we had covered things around Tawheed, the oneness of Allah through the name of Al-Hakam. We also covered things about wisdom that we see in the universe. And last week we covered how different sciences in the third matter, we covered how the different sciences point to the wisdom that we see in the creation. And inshallah today we'll cover a smaller, three smaller aspects of it. One is inshallah how this name points to the hereafter, as a proof of resurrection. Secondly, how it points to the frugality that we see in the easiest path being followed through the universe, and how we should also reflect that. And thirdly, inshallah, if we have time, or if we don't have enough time, I still want to cover it even for like 10 minutes, how this name points to the prophethood of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So by this, we will inshallah be combining different tenets of belief and explaining them through the window of Al-Hakam, inshallah. So the next slide. Oops, too much. Okay. All right. Today, inshallah, we'll have Dr. Turner with us, alhamdulillah, and Brother Jazmiani from Bloomfield, Connecticut. He's also joining us with his valuable insights. As always, all the discussion with the audience is welcome. Feel free to write your messages or insights on the chat, and other volunteer contributors. Feel free to contribute, inshallah. And I'm Mustafa. I'll be moderating this session as well, inshallah. So this, I've put this ayah again because this was in the beginning of this section of the name of Al-Hakam. And all this section is actually somewhat of a tafsir of this verse from the Quran as well. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Ud'u ila sabil rabbika bil hikmah. Invite all to the way of your sustainer with wisdom. And again, inshallah, I'll first read the fourth matter, and then I'll ask a few questions to our speakers, inshallah. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Fourth matter. As is indicated in the 10th word, for a wise maker, a most wise master builder, to follow carefully hundreds of instances of wisdom in each stone of a palace. Then, not to construct the palace's roof, so it falls into ruin and all the innumerable purposes and instances of wisdom are lost, is something no conscious being could accept. Similarly, it is in no way possible that, having followed out of his perfect wisdom tons of benefits, aims, and purposes in a tiny seed, a possessor of absolute wisdom should go to the great expanse of the mighty tree as tall as a mountain, so it should produce a single benefit, a single small aim, a single fruit worth virtually nothing, and so to be wastefully prodigal in a way entirely opposed and contrary to his wisdom. In just the same way, the all-wise maker attaches hundreds of instances of wisdom to each of the beings in the palace of the universe, and equips them to perform hundreds of duties, and to all trees bestows instances of wisdom to the number of its fruits, and gives duties to the number of its flowers. For him not to bring about the resurrection of the dead, and the great gathering, and for all those incalculable numbers of purposes and instances of wisdom and infinite duties to be meaningless, futile, pointless, and without purpose or benefit, would impute absolute impotence to that absolutely powerful one's perfect power, just as it would impute futility and purposelessness to that absolutely wise one's perfect wisdom, and utter ugliness to the beauty of that absolutely compassionate one's mercy, and boundless tyranny to that absolutely just one's perfect justice. It would be quite simply to deny the wisdom, mercy, and justice in the universe, which may be seen by everyone. It would be an extraordinary impossibility comprising innumerable absurdities. Let the people of misguidance come and see just what a terrifying obscurity, darkness, obscurity there is in their misguidance, just as there is in their graves, and how they are the nests of scorpions. They should know that belief in the hereafter is a way as beautiful and luminous as paradise, and should embrace belief. Okay, so inshallah, I'll stop here. And basically, we have been discussing, as I said, all these different aspects of the name of Al-Hakam, and we made the connections to wisdom, to also connect it to the name of Al-Hakim to some level. And now, and as we remember from last week, we also described how we see wisdom through the sciences, and how people see this. So maybe first question is like how we can connect those things, first three matters, especially the third matter, to this, and how should we understand this example of a palace without a roof, and this tree without a fruit or a very small fruit. Maybe I'll start with Brother Jazmi this time. Jazmi abi, would you like to comment on that and your insights on this section? Inshallah.
Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum
Thank
assalam.
you, Mustafa. Inshallah, I want to share some points regarding this example of a palace and also seed, the tree example from a very minute seed. So first of all, the example of palace. So not to make a roof for a palace, so it will be a great, of course, opposite to the wisdom of the master builder, right? So the wisdom and purposiveness of that palace is requiring to fulfill it with a roof, so that it may be protected, it may be not ruined, fall into ruining. So Nursi, he is uniting this example with the resurrection of the dead. So the fulfillment of the purposes, the perfecting of the purposes of this universe, requiring the existence of the eternal life, bringing the next world, resurrecting after the death. So he is uniting also all the other names here. We see he is also together with wisdom, mentioning the mercy, mentioning the justice, the blessing. So as he is referring to the 10th word at that part, very beautifully, Said Nursi explaining these two examples as well. So he's telling that from absolute goodness comes forth goodness. So if we observe an absolute goodness, we do not expect an ugly thing, of course, we would expect absolutely a goodness. And from the possessor of absolute beauty comes forth beauty. So nothing devoid of purpose can emerge from the possessor of absolute wisdom. So as in the reality part, he is explaining, we observe the wisdom of the creator of this universe so clearly, apparent. All the sciences also, as we read, as we mentioned in the last week, all the sciences are witnesses of the wisdom of the creator. So every science with its own eye looking at the universe, and they cannot even finish the perfect wisdom of the creator. So how could it be without putting a roof in a palace? How would it be the opposite to the wisdom of the master builder? So also not bringing the hereafter, not bringing the next world would be opposing certainly to the wisdom of the creator of this universe, because absolute goodness is requiring that, absolute wisdom is requiring the resurrection of the dead. These meanings comes to my mind. Yes.
Yeah. Jazakallah khair. And yeah, thanks for like connecting this to 10th word, right? I mean, for and this is, I guess, an interesting thing, right? Where we and in Risale-i Nur we see this a lot, I guess, different parts, although the main topic is something else. There are always connections, right? And all these different tenets of belief and different topics, at the end of the day, they strengthen each other. And the 10th word is about resurrection by itself, and this name of Al-Hakim, all right, is mentioned there, and as you said, as you beautifully
Your
pointed out.
point is also important, Mustafa abi, because every part of the Risale-i Nur is like a compressed extract, so teaching us essential elements, comprising essential elements of Quran, like the Tawheed. So we at the early week we mentioned how the all wise, the Sapient is showing the creator of this universe. So then here we mentioned the hereafter. Also, in the following fifth point, we will mention the nubuwwah, prophethood of the Prophet Muhammad. So all these are showing Said Nursi, he made the whole tafsir like the compressed extracts, including all the matters, the essential elements of the Quran, teaching us. Maybe all the time we may not achieve to read the whole tafsir or the whole Quran, so we are able to benefit from these parts as a whole, right?
Yeah, thanks. And before I go over to Harun Abi in the chat has written, meaning, if it is really a meaning, has to last forever. Otherwise, it's meaningless to have meaning. Hakim names, sapient and all-wise names are at the very core of meaning or rendering existence meaningful. Hence, hereafter is completing the picture of meaning, making it everlasting as a necessity of reflections of Hakam and Hakim, the names. So yeah, I mean, in the first week with Harun Abi, we did discuss the name of Al-Hakam, pretty much inserting the notion of meaning to the universe and how we understand it. And he, I guess, contributed the fact that that meaning is only complete with the hereafter in the picture. Jazakallah khair for your comment. Kolnabi, any insights from you about this connection of name of Al-Hakam, Al-Hakim to the hereafter?
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Yeah, I think both Brother Jazmi and Brother Harun have indicated that what is key here is purpose and meaning. Meaning and purpose are really, you can't extricate one from the other, really are inextricably linked, wisdom and purpose. And the analogy of the roof and the fruits that Ustad Nursi draws is amazing, really, because the roof is what comes on last. It's the last thing that is put onto a house. So if everything in that house has a purpose, the foundations, the walls, the windows, all of the fixtures and fittings, and then there's no roof, the rain comes in, the snow comes in, and everything is despoiled. So it absolutely makes no sense for everything in that house to have been affixed and fashioned and put in place with absolute wisdom and purpose, but for the whole thing to at the end of the the build, everything is ruined. So all of that purpose is despoiled. All of the meanings are ruined. All of those talents which were employed in the building of the house are completely destroyed. It makes absolutely no sense. The same with the fruit. If a tree goes through all of its germination and its growth and its development, but is cut down before it has the opportunity to give fruit, then why go to the trouble of planting a fruit tree if you're not going to let it reach fruition? It doesn't make sense. So these analogies are amazing analogies, really. They're quite pictorial. You can imagine it straight away: a house without a roof, and a tree that's cut down just before it is about to give fruit. The whole idea of purpose and system, and I think Al-Hakam is to do with system. Systems are there for a purpose, and if every atom in that system is working at its optimal level and is working perfectly, but then it's not allowed to reach the climax of its existence and bear the particular fruit or outcome that system is put there to do, then it makes a mockery of the system, really. I'm really interested in Al-Hakam and the notion of system, purposeful system, particularly as it pertains to the three sharias, the Sharia Fitri, which is the Sharia of the human disposition, and then Sharia Takwiniya, which is the Sharia of the whole of creation, and then of course the Sharia Tashri'iyya, which is the Sharia which guides interpersonal relations. These are three different systems which are like intersecting and at the same time concentric circles. They all work one with each other. If you can imagine the cogs in a watch or in a clock, all turning, and the teeth of the cogs all turning and clicking and interacting with each other. These three sharias work together in that way. The only problems occur is when the Sharia Tashri'iyya is not deployed. And we know that because the Sharia is not in practice, then this is the problems that we have is with that particular Sharia, because that involves human will. But let's not think about that for the moment. The fact is that these three systems are designed to give an outcome. They're designed to bear fruit. And if there is no hereafter, then each of those three sharias, which are fashioned and created, well, actually not created, because these sharias are an outgrowth of the divine names. The very fact that the divine names are there means that there are systems in place. God doesn't create systems. Systems emerge. Systems are a reflection of the divine names interplaying with each other. So it's not that God sets laws. God doesn't rule according to laws. The laws of creation are, and I don't want to say natural, but maybe organic outgrowths of the divine names as they are manifest. But if they've got nowhere to go, if there's no outcome, if there's no fruit to these systems which are all interplaying with such harmony, such equilibrium, such beauty, such balance, if they are coming to nothing and it just ends in destruction and annihilation, it makes a mockery of all of that system and wise purpose and wisdom which imbues the whole of creation. It's unthinkable that it's unthinkable that there shouldn't be an outcome, because everything would be ruined. It's like if someone is cooking a meal and takes 3 or 4 hours to cook a meal for you. And then, at the end, she throws or he throws the meal in the rubbish, in the garbage, before you have an opportunity to eat it,
Or
all
maybe
that
just a
work's
one
gone to
bite.
waste. Yeah, I mean, it all goes to waste. And the one thing that we don't see in creation is waste. So that's another indication that there has to be a hereafter. And of course, there are lots of indications in the 10th word.
Yeah.
I'm rereading and editing the new translation of the 10th word at the moment. And, time after time after time, Ustad says that the wisdom and the beauty and the balance and the order that we see would all be nullified if there were no hereafter.
Yeah.
They would all go to nothing. And here, this fourth matter, I think, is saying the same thing.
Yeah.
Allah.
Yeah, thank you. And by Karabi in the comments, he also in the chat he commented a similar thing about this theme coming back also in the Quran. He says almost 1/3 of the claim of the Quran Hakim is about the continuation of life in the hereafter. This shows us how crucial this particular pillar of the faith is. It is also the main reason behind the fact that while a believer sees numberless wisdom in the creation, unbelievers are totally numb in the face of existence. So there is an interesting point where belief in hereafter actually completes a person's.
MashaAllah, there's a very clever play on words there. Because he takes numberless and then he uses numb. That's very clever. I wonder whether he did it purposefully.
It just comes out, I guess. I don't know.
I don't know.
From the analogy of Brother Colin, the system, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created human beings, every human being has been created in the system of the universe. So, and the Ustad is giving also, Said Nursi is giving example of tree and seed. So we are human beings resembling a seed. And the 23rd word, immaterial members, divine power, and subtle valuable program has been put into our essence. So by divine determining. So all these abilities, all these programs deposited in our being, and the perfection of these members and program, of course, could be only the resurrection of the dead, so living eternally to fulfill all those purposes. Can only be existence of eternal world. So it's quite clear that without being crucified, we are leaving this world, right? It's temporary. As if, very beautiful example from Colin, Brother Colin. So as if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is feeding us in this world, but without satisfaction, living world, as if killing after feeding a little bit. Yes, it's a very necessary element of the hereafter, the notion of hereafter, after this world. Yes.
Yeah, which is actually a great point, right? Like the human being a summary of the universe, and because like one could argue that the universe it needs to resurrected or the as a whole, but individual human beings, right? Like what is the importance of individual human beings to be resurrected one by one in the hereafter? I think that meaning kind of makes that point that individual human beings are each a summary of the universe and can be as important as the universe, and thus they need to be also resurrected to complete that meaning. So indeed, that's a great point to point out here, I think. If no other comments about the hereafter, we could go into the fifth matter, inshallah.
Maybe we can focus on also the state of mind of the people of misguidance, because very clearly expressed how is their psychology being waiting for being annihilated. So it is very distressing. Maybe before going to before dying, they are feeling the maybe torment of the hellfire, being maybe separated from all the beloved ones, all the pleasures of the life. So they should consider this aspect. So the denying the hereafter is, of course, denying all the beauties, denying all the wisdom in this universe. So before going to before dying, so they are as if feeling that destruction in their very heart. Yes, and it is maybe we are unable to express this darkness in the heart, in the spirit, because with the light of Iman, with the blessing of Iman, we are saved from this. But Said Nursi, in his tafsir, he is depicting very beautifully, very clearly how non-belief, disbelief is a great darkness for their in their spirit, and it's a torment before going to hellfire. It is tormenting their mind. Also, we may have a share from this as a people of belief. So when we go against the commands of Allah Almighty, so we feel that darkness also to some extent. Yes.
Yeah, it's an interesting issue, right? I mean, this phrase of "they are the nest of scorpions," it is not actually. I mean, it does also point to their graves for disbelievers, but also in the misguidance itself, that it is a nest of scorpions, right? I mean, that misguidance or that unbelief itself is such a torment by itself, right? Before experiencing the hereafter, I think all the pain, as you said, is felt in this world, and and this really in this age of like depression and everything. I think the meaning of and the fact of hereafter is really something that is needed for all human beings, for sure. Before switching to the next, since we talked about systems a little bit, Harun abi, he commented about systems in the systems theory in the chat. I'll read through that without elaborating much further.
Sorry, Brother
Yes.
Mustafa.
Go
Could
ahead.
we have Harun explain it a little bit more? Is that okay?
Sure.
Because it's fascinating, and if he could just open it out a bit more, if he doesn't mind.
Sure. I asked him to unmute if he's able to speak. Sometimes,
Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam.
Quite a while I'm just teaching a systems class, and there are nice introductory notes. And it's amazing, as Colin Hocam mentioned, actually there is a strong relationship between systems and systems theory, systems discipline in general, and the name Hakam or Hakim. So these names are strongly related to systems in general. I do agree, and I can see that. For this, why I shared this, actually, I see these three attributes or three requirements with respect to components of a system. Tells us Tawheed, actually, this uniqueness, this oneness. So the first one is telling us that no individual, no particle is ignored in the knowledge of Allah or in the wisdom of Allah. This is what I understand. Each component has an effect on the system, means each particular is very well taken care of, and it has its own purpose in this minute detail, although it's very tiny, we can perceive particle, but it has a meaning. It has a potential or active meaning with existence itself. And it is connected to the highest system, what we can perceive, this particular meaning. That's the first one. The second one, with this particular effect, each component is definitely dependent on other one. I think we did ponder on this point a lot, such as everything is ontologically important, right? Cannot act dependent. So the keyword is the dependent. So each component is definitely has dependency on at least another component. And the third one is there is no independent subset or subsystem, which means, let's say we have three components, none of the two combined components is independent of the third one. So which eliminates shirk, actually. There is no gap, there is no, subset of systems working independently. In terms of Allah's wisdom and knowledge, there is no gap and nothing is left to work independently. As Colin Abi says, there is no laws, there is no particular groups, agency, just left over there to work independently. I think these three aspects of systems components make perfectly sense to understand Al-Hakim, Al-Hakam, and Hakim.
That's amazing. That's amazing. I remembered, well, I knew that Harun Hoja has a deep understanding of systems and system theory. And I am as ignorant of it as he is aware of it. But this very simple way that he's laid this out, and he started off by saying that this is showing Tawheed,
Yeah.
Systems theory is a perfect exemplar of Tawheed. And if you think in terms of the Sharias, the different Sharias which exist, the three interlinked Sharias, they're not they can't be. They're all components actually of the same whole cosmic system,
Yeah.
and they can't really act independently. And each one has an effect on the other. So Shariat Fitri has an effect on the whole system. As does, whatever we do has an effect and is taken into account. So they're all working interdependently, as he says, each component is dependent on at least one other component. If you think about Ustad's example of the stones in the mosque, in the dome of the mosque, it's such a beautiful analogy, that they are all dependent, but at the same time, they are dependent on each other, which means they can't really be dependent on each other. If you're dependent, and if you're Hakim and Mahkum at the same time, and again, he was the Hakim, Hakim and Mahkum, you are actually Mahkum to Al-Hakim at the end of the day. So this apparent dependency on other components that's actually apparent. It's only apparent. They are all the components actually are all in reality individually dependent directly on the creator of the system. But this formula, that Harun has given us here, these 3 points, are amazing. And I'm just amazed that his first word was, this is showing us Tawheed.
Yeah. Yeah.
So thank
Indeed.
you, thank you very much for that, Harun.
Yeah. And connecting to last week, right? Each science with its own language and tongue, and actually does show Tawheed, because of the wisdom and everything. So great, thank you. So I would like to go to the next section because we are running short on time if we don't. Which is again of 2 topics, and out of these 2 topics, we will have one is about frugality, the other is about the Prophet ﷺ and his prophethood. So I'll first read the first topic, inshallah. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Fifth matter. This consists of 2 topics. First topic, necessitated by his name of all-wise, the all-glorious Maker follows the lightest way, the shortest path, the easiest fashion, the most beneficial form, which shows that there is no wastefulness, futility, or absence of benefits in the nature of things. Wastefulness is the opposite of the name of wise, just as frugality is necessitated by it and is its fundamental principle. O prodigal, wasteful man, Know that by not practicing frugality, the most basic principle in the universe, you have acted in a way entirely contrary to reality. You should understand what an essential, encompassing principle is taught by the verse. كُلُوا وَاشْرَبُوا وَلَا تُسْرِفُوا. Eat and drink, but waste not in excess. And again, this point is coming from wisdom and the easiest path being taken. But I would like to also point out and ask, I guess, like there's a connection, right? We have seen the pattern. Should we see a pattern, maybe in a question form? Should we see a pattern like with name of Al-Quddus? We concluded that as human beings, we should also be clean and connected to that hadith and nazafat min al-iman. The cleanliness is from belief, is a part of belief. And here, the name of Al-Hakam is connected to frugality, or the shortest path being taken in the universe, and to the human behavior. I mean, is this a pattern? How should we exercise this pattern? Are there ways to see more of this? And also any specific insights about how we see frugality in the universe, shortest path being taken in the universe, and how to apply this. Jazmavi, would you like to go first about this? You are muted, I imagine.
I started speaking.
Okay.
Yes, I was muted. So here, maybe the definition of frugality is given very beautifully. So all glorious maker. So Sa'ani Hakim, Sa'ani Zul Jalal. So he is following the lightest way. So the shortest path, the easiest fashion, the most beneficial form. So these are maybe the definition of frugality, being frugal. So doing something in the shortest way. So being economical in the best way. So so that we do not waste anything, any power, time, so that we can save our energy, we can save our time. So as you defined, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants to make us follow his good conduct. So our best example, of course, our Prophet ﷺ, in the second topic will be mentioned. So we maybe I can mention that meaning. So when we have, for example, how can show the frugality in our life, so that we can reflect the effulgence, the radiance, or the beautiful asma. So by following the Sharia, by following the Sunnah, so it comes to mind, and acting in all our actions wisely. So it is requiring being frugal. So so this is, I think, one of the aim of our creation. So being frugal, being wise, as at the very beginning, the ayah, "Ud'u sabila rabbika bil hikmah." So this ayah is commanding us to be wise in our actions, not to act in vain, without any purpose. So being wise, so as the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ acted, so in all our actions, in our social relations, in our private life, in every part of the life, be following the rules of frugality. So this is, I think, here taught. Yes.
No, yeah, just this is really great, because the definition that you have and the definition that you attracted our attention to is the easiest fashion, most beneficial form, and you said is the most economical form, the way, which is great, because sometimes when we think about frugality, it's almost like especially in this age of capitalism, right, where frugality sometimes almost seen as a bad thing, because you have to spend so that the economy could go around and things like that. But it is, and this definition of frugality, I think, in that sense, is great, right? I mean, it is, you still get things done, but you get them through the shortest path, the lightest way, the most beneficial form. I mean, in the terms of economy, I guess, maybe maximizing your return on investment, right? I mean, you still get things done. That's what I understand, and this how things go in the universe. Things, beautiful things, perfect things are getting done, but they're getting done in a way that is economical. There's no waste. Everything is either, we discussed in the name of Al-Quddus as well, about things being recycled very efficiently and things like that. But connecting that to frugality, and as a definition of frugality, I think is also beautiful. And thanks for making that connection.
Middle point also here defined the most basic principle in the universe. So as we mentioned, system. When we follow in our life the frugality, the being wise, acting wisely, so we are also not opposing the system of the universe. By being in this universe, we should act according to the laws of the creation. So these are maybe one of the most important principles Allah has put, acting wisely and frugally. Yes.
Thanks. Before turning to Kulnabi, there are a couple comments. So one is from brother Mehmet Abi says, there's a way in every sin, there's a path from every sin to kufr, to disbelief. Being wasteful means that I don't listen to anyone but my own soul. So it will obviously show that owning the Gadesh or godlike emanet leads to become Zalum and Jahul, the one that is the most ignorant and the most tyrannous, or tyrant, the biggest tyrant. So I guess in this, what I understand here is that listening to our own nafs, our own evil commanding soul, it is wasteful, because it is not the easiest path, and it could lead to disbelief. Brother Baikarabi also pointing out frugality is not only demonstrated to the furthest point in the physical realm, but also witnessed in the spiritual sense, since the existence is full of wisdom. In short, nothing is futile. So I guess connecting back to also hereafter, no futility, everything, and also spiritual realm, not only physically but spiritually. And finally, Harun Abi pointed out that we imitate Allah's creation to solve our daily problems. Algorithms of computer science, such as ant colony optimization, genetic algorithms, bee organization related algorithms, even recently popular deep learning algorithms, are based on neurons relations, are some examples to see the most efficient way is preferred in the universe. Yeah, Jazakallah. I mean, there's also great, all these algorithms that we see indeed are like artificial intelligence is right trying to imitate the actual intelligence, it's, and it's seen as the ultimate way of computing. So subhanallah, there is no excess, there is no in creation, everything is very efficient, and we are trying to imitate that. Thanks for that. Kolnabi, would you like to comment on this topic?
Yeah, but before I do, Mustafa Damir had his hand up.
Oh, really? Sorry for that.
About 10 minutes ago, and I wonder whether he
missed that.
still wants to speak.
Let me find him on the. I guess he lowered his hand, but I'll see if he still wants to speak. I sent him an unmet request.
Assalamualaikum.
Alaikum salam.
I'd like to take your attention to the Jazmi brothers, and reminding before his previous speech regarding the conclusion of the fourth matter that interests all people on the sorry on the earth. The start here for him not to bring about the resurrection of the dead and the great gathering, and for all those incalculable numbers of purposes and instances of wisdom and infinite duties to be meaningless, futile, pointless, and without purpose or benefit, would impute absolute importance to that absolutely powerful one's perfect power, just as it would impute futility and purposelessness to that of absolutely wise one's perfect wisdom, and utter ugliness to the beauty of that absolutely compassionate one's mercy, and boundless tyranny to that absolutely just one's perfect justice. Here is very important. It would be quite simply to deny the wisdom, mercy, and justice in the universe, which may be seen by everyone, which may be witnessed by everyone. It would be an extraordinary impossibility, comprising innumerable absurdities. The people of misguidance should come and see just what a terrifying darkness, blackness there is in their misguidance, just as there is in their graves, and how they are the nests of scorpions. Everybody, as we know, have conscience, have aware of that approaching to their end in this world, in this, let's say, world's journey. Everybody sees his or her, their grave just over there, ahead, on the pathway of their life traveling. So everybody is thinking that how their grave is, except some of them sleeping, their conscience by alcohol, etc. things. And they see in this journey some desperateness and recklessness for unbelievers, that there is no solution for them. Journey is continuing, but they are let's say crushing a block that they can't overcome on it. So in this regard, belief is also giving us let's say priceless news. The people we are here, the people of misguidance should come and see what a terrifying darkness, blackness there is in their misguidance, just as there is in their graves, and how they are the nests of scorpions. And they should know that belief in the hereafter is a way beautiful and luminous as paradise, and should embrace belief. And this is like a medicine for every believer's heart, mind, intellect, imagine, etc. Thank you.
Jazakallah khair. Thank you. Thanks for reminding us of this. Indeed, belief is is saving us in this world as well as in the hereafter. Jazakallah khair for that. If you go back to the point of frugality, and there is, of course, nothing is futile, and there is no futility in the universe, and there is this connection to um, not wasting and being frugal. Konabi, do you have any comment on this part? We have about
No, I think everything has been said, really. There's no waste in the creation. Allah doesn't waste anything.
yeah,
Waste comes from arrogance. We waste things because we can, because we want to, because either we don't value it or because we don't care. And we know that capitalism is predicated on waste and overusing things, israf. So prodigality is not visible in the creation at all. There is no extravagance. Allah does everything perfectly. Everything has a wise purpose. Everything is at the optimal level of efficiency. I think again, Harun's observation here about these algorithms, the ant colony optimization, bee organization, all of these things. We see it, we don't see any waste. And yet you find people saying, well, what's the point of, for example, a mushroom? We've talked about mushrooms before. There are some mushrooms, when they produce spores, there are billions of spores produced, and yet you only see 2 or 3 mushrooms growing there. Why are these billion spores ejected from the mushroom? Isn't this waste? Isn't this, showing that the creation is prodigal? The point is, we don't see the purpose for those spores, because we are unaware of purposes. We then impute prodigality to the creator. If we knew what these things were for, we would see that, the very, very, that the creator is a paragon of efficiency. Nothing is wasted. Nothing goes by the wayside. There is no extravagance. Everything is perfectly on point. Everything is perfectly efficient. And as they say, less is more. The only people who waste are those who are arrogant and think that they own.
Yeah.
Well, no, I don't really have anything more to add. I think
yeah,
everything has been said.
That's great. Yeah. And in the chat, Brother Mehmet has pointed out that basically we should not waste anything, not only physical things, but time, thoughts, and imagination. So good points there. And I would
think
like
that's
to.
one of our big problems is wastefulness.
Yeah.
One of the big problems that causes a lot of not just personal problems, but also social problems, climate problems with all of the systems that we've talked about. Waste causes problems. Waste blocks the system,
Yes.
literally and metaphorically.
Yeah, indeed. Inshallah, I would like to read through the last part so that we cover it. And with that, I'll get like final, inshallah, thoughts. It's not short, so I'll start. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. It may be second topic. It may be said that the names of Sapient and All-Wise point to and necessitate the messengership of God's noble messenger, alayhi salatu wasalam, upon whom be blessings and peace, to the degree of being self-evident. Yes, since a meaningful book requires a teacher to explain it, and an exquisite beauty requires a mirror to show itself and see itself, and a perfect work of art requires a herald to announce it. For sure, among mankind, who is addressed by the mighty book of the universe, in every letter of which are hundreds of meanings and instances of wisdom, will be a perfect guide, a supreme teacher. For he will teach the sacred, true wisdom in the book, that is, make known the existence of the wisdom and purposes in the universe, indeed, be the means of the appearance and even existence of the dominical purposes in the universe's creation, and make known and act as a mirror to the perfect art of the Creator. and the beauty of his names, which he willed to display throughout the universe, showing their importance. And since the Creator wants to make himself loved through all his beings and to be responded to by all his intelligent creatures, one of them will respond with comprehensive worship in the name of all of them, in the face of those comprehensive dominical manifestations. He will bring the land and sea to ecstasy, and with a tumultuous announcement and exaltation that will cause the heavens and earth to reverberate, turn the gazes of those conscious creatures to the one who made the art, and with sacred instruction and teaching and a Quran of mighty stature that will draw the attention of all reasonable people, will demonstrate in the best way the divine purposes of that sapient and all-wise maker, and who will respond most completely and perfectly to the manifestations of all his instances of wisdom and of his beauty and glory. The existence of such a being, Prophet ﷺ, is as necessary, as essential for the universe as the existence of the sun. And the one who did this and performed those functions most perfectly was self-evidently the most noble messenger والسلام, upon whom be blessings and peace, in which case all the wisdom in the universe necessitates the messengership of Muhammad والسلام, as the sun necessitates light and light the day. Yes, just as through their greatest manifestation, the names of sapient and all-wise necessitate the messengership of Muhammad والسلام, at the maximum degree, so too numerous most beautiful names like Allah, most merciful, Ar-Rahim, Ar-Rahman, all compassionate, Ar-Rahim, loving, Wadud, bestower, Kareem, munificent, I guess bestower could be Al-Razzaq, munificent could be Al-Kareem, beauteous, Al-Jamil, and sustainer. Sustainer could be Razzaq. Necessitate through their greatest manifestation apparent in the universe at the maximum degree and with absolute certainty the messengership of Muhammad alayhi salatu wassalam. And goes on like this, and I will read the in short part, inshallah, which is the end of it. In short, since the universe exists and cannot be denied, neither can such observable truths as wisdom, grace, mercy, beauty, order, balance, and adornment, which are like the colors, embellishments, lights, rays, arts, lives, and bonds of the universe, be denied. Since it is impossible to deny these attributes and acts, certainly the necessarily existent, all-wise, munificent, compassionate, beauteous, sapient, and just one, also, who is the one signified by those attributes, and is the doer of those deeds, and the sun and source of those lights, can in no way be denied. And certainly the messengership of Muhammad والسلام, who is the supreme guide, most perfect teacher, preeminent herald, solver of the talisman of the universe, mirror of the eternally besought one, beloved of the most merciful, and the means of those attributes and acts being known, indeed of their perfection and even of their being realized, can in no way be denied. His messengership is the universe's most brilliant light, like the lights of the world of reality and of the reality of the universe. عليه وعلى آله وصحبه الصلاة والسلام بعدد آشرات الأيام وذرات الأنام. Blessings and peace be upon him to the number of seconds of the days and of the particles of creatures. سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم, which we can also recite at the end. But I wanted to just read through this. I know we are out of time, but any final thoughts about like connecting the universe and the messengership of the Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam? And with that, any final thoughts? Maybe Konnabi will start with you and then go to Jesma before his final.
I think, the roof of the house and the fruit of the tree can also be analogous to the Prophet, as-salatu wassalam. If there is humanity, if there is the human race, then there should be one who is the most perfect of all humanity, and who, because we all reflect the names, there should be one who reflects more comprehensively than anyone else. So the roof of humanity and the fruit of humanity is the Prophet. If without him, it would make no sense for human beings to exist, or the creation actually.
And I guess teaching that palace is a palace and a tree is a tree.
Of course, yeah.
Thank you. Jism abi, any thoughts about that, and also any final thoughts?
Yes, thank you for the the last comment of the Colin abi. So the aim of the creation is fulfilling with the sending of Rasulullah sallam, because he is teaching the real wisdom to us, the real aim of the meaning of the universe. So for us also the meaning of life will be fulfilled through through following him, Rasulullah alayhi salatu wasalam, so that we are not wasting our life, we are not wasting our abilities through following him in our life, so making him as a guide for us, as an example, as the Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is making him as the best example for us, Uswatun Hasana. So the perfection of the universe is sending of the Rasulullah sallam. Also perfection of our lives, so will be by following him in our life, making him example for our life, inshallah. May Allah make us fulfill this aim, this purpose, inshallah.
Inshallah. Would you like to make a dua, Jazm abi, to finish then?
Yes. سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم وآخر دعوانا أن الحمد لله رب العالمين اللهم أرنا الحق حقا وارزقنا اتباعه وأرنا الباطل باطلا وارزقنا اجتنابه اللهم ارزقنا حبك وحب ما يقربنا إليك اللهم ارزقنا اتباع السنة السنية اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا محمد طب القلوب ودوائها وعافية الأبدان وشفائها ونور الأبصار وضيائها وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما كثيرا آمين والحمد لله رب العالمين. فاتحة.
Okay, thank you all again. Jazakallah
Thank you
khair.
very much.
And inshallah next week we will start with the name of Al-Hayy, the all living, inshallah.
Oh, mashallah. That's exciting.
Inshallah. Okay. Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam.